You're all quiet. You expecting something? All right, very good. Well, good evening. I'm Stan Morse, your current president, and welcome to our November meeting. Glad to have everybody here. Nice little turnout for this evening. Tonight's a very informal program. So informal that we just discovered in the past 5 minutes the projector's going to run backwards tonight. So the pictures you're going to see probably are not necessarily in sequence, but they'll work. And you're going to see them, you're going to see all your friends and the family and the history and everything else. Right, John? Right. So we'll be all set. Okay, now there's some business we have to attend to before starting John's presentation. And John, you might as well have a seat because it's going to take about 5 minutes or so.
Sit down.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you very much. John and I need direction. You know what I mean? Yeah. Mary would agree with you. Mary's not here. It's traditional during the month of November that we present to you a slate of officers or change of officers for the next year. We have two categories of, quote, leaders in our organization. We have the regular officers, which is president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary, or secretary and treasurer. And then we have 12 directors. And the directors serve 3-year terms. Now, what we have for you tonight is we have 3 candidates where we would normally have 4 for the board. And these are all renewal of terms. And thanks for their wonderful service to the society. I'd like to nominate Joe Magnarella, Linda Colts, and Allison Meyer to continue on and go for another 3 years apiece. At the same time, we had a situation involving the unexpected resignation of our secretary, Bill Jackson, in late August. And into the breach within days, almost within hours, Susan Farjeon jumped right in and saved the bacon, literally, because she's put out the newsletters for September, October, and November without a whimper. It's been efficient, smooth, just about as fine as you can get. And so I would like to nominate Susan Farjeon to complete the 2-year term of Bill Jackson. So in other words, she would be electing Susan Farjeon for a 1-year term tonight. Okay, so 4 candidates so far. Joe Magnarella, Linda Colts, and Allison Meyer for 3-year terms as directors. Susan Farjeon for a 1-year term as secretary to complete the unexpired term. And then in a regular rotation basis, I'm finding out, and some people, like Diane McNeil, is really on top of this stuff, so I thank Diane for her leadership and honesty here. Jim Sweeney as your treasurer, and I as your president are up for 2-year terms. And so we would be nominating Jim and myself for 2-year terms. So the 3-year terms for directors, Magnarella, Colts, and Meyer, Susan Farjeon for secretary for 1 year, Jim Sweeney and myself for 2-year terms. May I have
I move the slate.
Motion. Thank you, John. Gifford jumps right in and moves the slate. Second. By Skip Dixon. All in favor? Aye. Stuck with. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, Diane.
Is there a nomination for the 4th director from the floor?
Oh, very nice. I love the protocols. This is great. Thank you, Diane. Is there a nomination for the 4th director from the floor? Be surprised how long I can remain quiet.
Everybody speak up.
Apparently not at this time. So we'll work on a 4th director, but we are looking for a 4th director for a 3-year term starting right now. It would require your attendance at the monthly board meetings, which are held in the preceding hour of this presentation on Thursday nights. The responsibilities are relatively minor. We may call on you for various little tasks throughout the year. You can volunteer for a program, you can volunteer for anything you choose. But the obligations are relatively small and relatively light, and they're always a lot of fun. So I would like to have someone volunteer for those various things. Moving on, thank you very much for your confidence and for your future leaders. This last year, we had the unfortunate situation of losing Lori Duncan. Actually, it was last year. And I was asked to come in and fill in a term there for leading to this tonight. And in the interim, your board has decided that we would like to honor Lori with a scholarship, naming the program that we give for the annual scholarship for the high school graduate from Millbrook High School in Lori's name. So it's now known as the Lori Duncan Memorial Scholarship Fund.
Award, not
Award.
scholarship.
I'm sorry, not fund, it's award. Thank you very much.
There's a-
I love, see, I can't make a misstep. Thanks to the honesty of this group. Yes, sir.
Dan, let me just take a minute
Sure.
to explain that.
Go ahead.
If we give an award to the senior,
Yep.
they do not have to declare that on their college application, but if we give them a scholarship, they have to declare it, and then they lose financial aid possibly because of it. That's why we need to keep that word award.
Have we gotten complex in this? The answer is yes, but thank you, Diane, for that clarification. It's a wonderful clarification. So it's an
It happened
award.
to somebody one time.
So it's an award.
That's why we changed it to an award.
Okay. Our target this year is to award $1,000 scholarship next year to a deserving high school graduate, or perhaps as we did this year, 2 co-graduates who are equally qualified and deserving. So far, we're a little bit more than halfway home on that $1,000. I'd love to ask for volunteer contributions, checks, donations, and so on. We received another very generous donation from a member tonight to boost that total amount to a little over $500. So we're trying to get there by April if we possibly can, and your cooperation is solicited. Okay, moving on. November is also the time when we try and lock in as much as possible the program schedule for next year. And if you go back for the history of this society, going back to 1972, we've had one fine set of programs. Very seldom repeating a program, and having very interesting, challenging subjects and topics. Always generating interest in the local community, if we possibly can. Sometimes we'll venture outside, but not too frequently. So the subject is usually Millbrook or the town of Washington, if we possibly can do it. And even when we did the Civil War presentation on the subject of the Dutchess County Regiment, we focused on, in this case, the boys or the men from the town of Washington. So here are the programs that we are proposing for next year. We're locking them into place. Several have been locked into place already, but if the schedule goes accordingly, they will include the topics of World War II auto industry, the involvement of the local community. There are several automobile dealerships right here in the village of Millbrook. Another program, the Charlie Johnson story, the next phase. Charlie Johnson was a Korean War veteran, gave his life, and he saved several of his fellow comrades in arms in the U.S. Military. And it's a chapter on local black history, Afro-American history. We've had them before. We always had them very enjoyable. We like them very much, and we have a member of the family who will be with us probably in February to deliver that topic. We have a Revolutionary War story. Turns out that the relative of a local resident was a Revolutionary War participant and probably, from all descriptions, a hero. Or hear the story of that particular person and his involvement. We're then going to move on to the Dean family. The Dean family, the merchants, in several different categories of merchandising and presentation of product right here in Millbrook. And Jack Dean, a member of the Dean family, will be making that presentation. We're going to really get interesting in the next one. Beers of the Hudson Valley, the history of beer. Did you expect that coming? I didn't. I think it's going to happen.
Looking forward to the refreshments that night.
Well, the refreshments, well, that's a point of discussion, but interestingly enough, Well, we'll get to it one at a time.
Dry night.
And it might be a dry night
Root
based
beer.
upon, if nothing else, insurance purposes, as you might imagine. Okay, our annual tea, always in June, always fascinating. We go to a site, we bring in the refreshments, we camp out, and we usually have a nice presentation. We got a preview of that presentation tonight, thanks to our town and village historian, David Greenwood. The location for the site visit this year is going to be the Elliott and Susie Clark estate in
Lithgow.
Lithgow, just on the other side of the Shunpike entrance. Fascinating. If you've ever been in there, it's got beautiful gardens, it's got a cupid up on the hillside, an historic, very historic home. And access to that home has been limited over the years. We're going to get a special crack at it, and we're really grateful to Susie and Elliot for doing that and being so generous with their property. We don't have any programs in July and August. In September, the subject is going to be Innisfree. Simple name, Innisfree. We'll see where that one goes. That's going to be fascinating. In October, David Greenwood is going to grace us with a presentation on the Millbrook School, the prep school, out on the way to a meeting. David and Nancy's two sons attended there. David has very good contacts there. And a fellow by the name of John Downs, I believe his name is, will probably join David in that particular effort. That will be in October. And then we'll round out with a subject that I think is long overdue. November. Women of Millbrook. Women of Millbrook. It's about time. There's many aspects in which women have played a very, very prominent and significant role here. Not as supporters of other people's efforts, but in their own right. Everything from the WCTU to, well, you'll hear more about that in November. So that's the program for next year. We're looking forward to it. It should be fun, exciting, it's diverse, it's eclectic, that's for sure. So that's the program for next year. And we'll be putting out the little flyers, a little card, and mailing them out to membership in the month of January. Now there's another event that has come about as a result of a series of events here. Museum in the Streets, we've had 3 presentations on that this year in Millbrook alone, actually maybe 4. We had a presentation back in February, I believe it was. And it was an excellent program, and there were a lot of the folks from the Italian community were here participating in what their family history had been. That led to a presentation in April on Museum in the Streets as a preliminary to what happened later on. We had a booth at the Community Day in September on Museum in the Streets. And then on October 4th, a big blow-up. A wonderful event in which we see the historic markers and sites located throughout the village. And out of that, you would say, well, you know, what more can you do? Some creative person, and I don't even remember who it was, said, how about a bus trip to Ellis Island? A bus trip to Ellis Island. How many people have been to Ellis Island? Here. All right? It's fascinating. It's historical. It's emotional. Even if you don't have someone in your immediate family or a relative or an ancestor who came through Ellis Island. It's a very special event. We're looking into that. It's a bus trip. There's going to be a cost involved. There'll be limited participation. You only probably have just enough people to fill one bus, which would be under 50 people. Normally using a normal motor coach. We're exploring the idea of a trip right now. It's not guaranteed. It's not locked into place. It'll be above and beyond the regular program for this next year, but it's under consideration by your board at this time. Okay, moving to tonight. It's about time, isn't it? I've talked enough up here. As you're seeing here, you're seeing cider and donuts being presented to you. And that's why the, Linda, I haven't forgotten you, Linda. That's why you see the chairs arranged the way they are tonight. So the people serving the cider and donuts can get to you, because in the normal configuration, rows make it inaccessible. So we hope you enjoy that. It's a special treat, it's a special little thing. And it goes hand in hand with the idea of slides, which is akin to a movie thing. So the idea of center dollars for that. Okay, Linda Coates reminds me that we have these wonderful membership forms that were produced for Community Day this year. And if you think about it, the holidays for Christmas are coming up, and for other holidays of a religious nature. There are at least two that I can think of. And if you're looking for a special gift to someone this year, how about a membership to our society as a gift? Unique, special, inexpensive. $25 for single, $30 for family. Not very much, but you can see what you can get for it. 9 times a year, plus your tea, plus other events and information. So Linda has the forms. She's going to go around and pass those out during the presentation tonight, as well as the cider and donuts being presented. And it's finally time to turn the program over to John Kading. Are you ready to roll, John? Okay. Does John need any introduction? No? No. You got it, John.
Number one, I want to thank you for that nice presentation and talking. But my daughter is running home to get my change. So I'll talk a few more minutes and I'm sure she's going to come to But anyway, let me give you people or whatever. I came to Millbrook, or we did, Ellen and I, my sister. We came to Millbrook in 1934. And we went to work. My father went to work at the Oakley Corn Estate. Dad was there for 39 years, and I worked on the farm during the war years, making hay and so forth. But anyway, through that thing I went to school, kindergarten and all. Went in the service for 2 years in Korea. I was one of the lucky ones, went to Verdun, France. And what an experience that was. And I got to go into Germany and meet my relatives, many cousins and aunts and uncles. But anyway, that's over the thing. I took over the store, corner news store, in 1945. I went to work for Mr. Tilsley after work. And in 1947, I bought the store. $710 in inventory. 2 years later, I go in service in 1950 to 52. And I had my sister run the store for 2 years while I was in service. Anyway, that's a little bit of our background. And what I always enjoyed and always will do is collecting things. And what I got here is a picture of the village of Millbrook taken in 1925. Bobby Cole, who was a very good friend of mine, helped many people clean up their yards and clean up their homes and attics. New people were buying property, and many of the things were thrown out. This picture was one of the pictures that they were going to throw in the dump. He brought it in and showed me, and I said, "Oh my God, what a collection!" I had this for about 15 years or 20 years ago when he gave it to me. And what's so interesting about it, and my brother, on top of everything, has an airplane. I said, "Jesus, I'd love to be able to duplicate that." It went up 2,000, 1,500 feet, 2,000 feet, and I'm trying to take a picture that matches this. I never got close to it. So anyway, I was at the airport, and I noticed one pilot, he's always flying, and I had a picture, this one here, and I left it at the airport, and I asked them if they could ask one of the pilots, when they go around, they just wanna go cruise around a little bit, and ask them if they could duplicate that picture. Well, one of the guys did. And honest to God, he came back and he made a little picture. I took that and had it enlarged into a big one. Now, I don't know if you can all see it, but the big thing about this picture is this. The only thing that I really know, number one, is to look right here. You can see the road that goes to the Cardinal Hayes home. I says, well, by golly, we've got one thing. Anyway, and then you look at this, then you look at Bennett College down in here. Oh, but what makes this so interesting, you can stand there and look at this, especially this one was taken in 2013. And they were just redoing the playground, the football field. You can see that's done. But this is all grass now. But I gotta get the guy to go back up again and bring me up to date on this. This kind of spoils the whole thing. But here, I'm just wondering who these people are that live in these houses, because there's no housing on this. But it is a... Oh, good. Now I can stop talking to
If that's not an omen to say that these need to get scanned and into the 2014 era instead of that, I know we're in the historical society, but...
Now, after I show my slide, over here on the table, Mr. Keller, who's a professional photographer, went down to the village. This is back in 1985 or 86. We went and took a picture of each one of the stores all the way up. And I had this on display. And you can see, some of them are still business, and there's others that are gone, like the jewelry store. And then there's my corner room. Got the eight store, Murphy's 5 and dime there.
Yeah, where's Murphy's 5 and dime?
Huh?
Where is that?
Right there.
Right there? Hey, John, you've been looking for a picture.
I know, you got him in there. Get to the slides now.
Okay.
Be careful of that water.
Yeah. Okay. Again, I thank everybody for coming. I think this is about the third time I'm showing slides. So I didn't want to duplicate a lot of those that I showed before. But meanwhile, let me get the... Where am I?
Right here.
Oh, there. I've got to go here. There's a little red button on this side. Let me put this on number 1.
Way to go, Alan. He's got a shirt on,
Now,
half naked.
I had to start with this, and I do it almost every time I do it. I wouldn't be here tonight doing this slide presentation if it wasn't for her. Taking care of the store while I go out and do run the ambulance calls, go on fire, and
I
all
can't
of it.
even sit down like that anymore. Anyway,
that's my my wife, and next year we'll be celebrating our 60th.
Nice.
Congratulations. Thank you. So let's go.
Okay.
We're going to start off with Mr. Carmine, who had the store right on the corner.
Ice cream bar.
And he always worked on his garden. He didn't go to the garden, he was out in front serving ice cream. And also, he was the owner of the Millbrook Diner, after Charlie Still's father, right?
He's serving food right now.
Huh?
He's serving food.
Is it?
Earl Cunningham.
Now he's coming with this.
That's Earl.
For a man, he was our police officer for about 35 or 40 years.
24/7.
Manager.
He never slept.
And I want to pass on, and I know there's many stories that will go with this gentleman. Number one, when we got the ambulance, he was one of the drivers, or one of the persons to volunteer for, especially during the day. And what was interesting, every once in a while I get a story. He went, and he always went to the diners to open up the diner and put on the coffee. This one morning, he's there in front of the diner with his car, and he's going into the diner, and his car comes up around the corner, races up the avenue, goes through the red light, and he says, this guy ain't gonna get away. So he jumps in his car, and he chases, races him. Well, finally catches him up at the Silver Horn. Finally pulled the guy over, and he said, God, he says, you know you went through a traffic light, you went 60 miles, and you're due for a ticket. So he writes the ticket, and comes back down. About 2 weeks later, somebody came in and bought the New York Times, comes back to me, he says, John, did you see the article in the paper today? This guy wrote a column, and he's talking about Millbrook, New York. That is cop there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You don't sleep. So I'm warning all my New York friends, God, be careful when you're up.
Even at 4 o'clock in the morning.
All of us, unbelievable. But anyway, that's what we did. You see him out there from the
Right over there, that's that's where I'm going.
Yeah, Aunt Helen was doing this yesterday, and he says, that's my car right there.
That's what I was thinking. Bring you in the coffee. Oh my God.
And this is always an interesting picture. That's Bill Howe and Ray Langford. Bill Howe, he was the nephew of Ritter Briggs, the founders of Ritter Briggs Company. And he came back from California when I was 1953, when I came back 52. And he said to me, and I was selling Christmas trees at that time, and he said, you know, if I had about 8 or 10 Christmas trees, I'll put the lights on. So I said, yeah, we'll get 10 trees. And we put the lights on, up and down, and from the bank to my corner. And lights were on. The following year, Mr. Roger Young had bought the big property up on top of Tower Hill. And he was clearing all this land off, and there were all these cedar trees. And he said, gee, you know, we could take those cedar trees and use them for the thing. So I remember Dad and the farm gang, there was about 5 or 6 guys that were working on the farm. They went up there and took all those trees and brought them down. and they got the committee together. This is Dynamite Joe, we call him.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
He helped put the trees up and helped put the lights on. He was just all over.
John, Jenny Bud inside, used to be
Inside
Sotero.
is Jenny Sotero, who was deputy town clerk. And people were coming in while she was working for me to make out hunting licenses.
We had to have that. We had it.
And this is what it looked like the first year we put the Christmas trees up.
What year was that, John?
Yeah, what year?
1953.
63.
53.
Briar's ice cream.
Yeah. In the Ford garage.
When you drove Ford was the garage across the street.
Now, I'm thinking, is that the Millbrook Men's Shop when it was probably this year, Dad? Or the other one?
Or was it Foley? It was Foley then, wasn't it?
There's the old king, that's right.
Tom Foley. Before Tom Foley.
Yeah, Tom Foley has it. That's the old firehouse. Now I'm going to pass out many of these things. We have the old Ward fire truck that was in 1931. And the truck was getting old. The Thorne family, I'm talking about Oak and Thorne, bought a White family fire truck
Yeah.
for the fire department.
Same.
And I will tell you from on and on it would go. And it would go. Now, this is the old lodge hall.
Okay, it's in Helen's turn. Yay, Helen, thank you for helping. She's, go ahead, Michelle. Go ahead, talk louder.
Due to a decline in membership in fraternal organizations in Millbrook, we lost 3 of them. Halcyon Lodge, the Washington Grange, and the Knights of Columbus. This was Halcyon Lodge building located on Front Street. It is now occupied by the Bank of Millbrook. In 1981, due to membership decline, the Masons sold the building and joined the Pleasant Valley Lodge. Communion breakfast was an annual affair held on the Sunday following Easter. Between 500 and 600 Masons attended the service. Anybody remember all those cars parked on Main Street?
Are you supposed to be clicking? Breakfast?
The service was held at the Lyle Memorial Federated Church, followed by a breakfast and a
I used to work there.
Yes, you worked there.
followed by a breakfast on the Thorne Building Auditorium. John was also a past president of this organization. I was just a teenager when they asked for help to serve. If I came on Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock and helped them set the tables, they give you $1. And if I came on Sunday and helped them serve, they gave me another $1. So I made $2 as a teenager.
Now that's,
Oh my gosh,
Very good.
good.
Who's that, Daddy? Past mayor or something, you said?
he was the past mayor of the village of Millbrook for
What was his
7 or 8
name,
years.
Helen?
What's his
I
name?
was clerk.
Huh?
She said, Helen, you want to be the clerk? I said, you don't have to do most work. Well, about the same year, they voted that the clerk had to send out all the water bills. So I was busy all the time and click. This one guy comes in, are you bonded? You know, once he came in to pay the taxes, and his tax bill wasn't more than $50 or $60 if you was working on. I was making thousands of them.
You're gonna do that one too?
Okay, that is the Washington Grange, which was located on the corner of Church Street and Merritt Avenue. In 1920, the Grange bought their building from the Episcopal Church. Today, it is the Millbrook parking lot. In 1982, they sold the building and joined Pleasant Valley Grange. At one time, they had a membership of 300 members, with an attendance of 100 members at each of their meetings, which they met twice a month. I was the last president, and I have been a member of the Grange for 63 years. Last June, I resigned after 32 years as the financial secretary for the Dutchess County Pomona Grange. I also was the last president of Washington Grange. Now, this was the Knights of Columbus building located on Friendly Lane, across from the library. That building, it is now a parking lot for the library, the village department store, department, and the police department. The village police department and the village park. That's all I got to say.
Was that building ever the Friends meeting house?
That's Diane.
Okay. I'm right here, very good. They just had a question, was that old house that got, where the parking lot was the Friends meeting house?
No.
No,
No.
that belongs to the Episcopal Church.
That's a nice.
No,
That's what, tell us.
Yeah, that actually, when the Quaker meeting moved from 9 Partners and into the village, it was that site and that was the Quaker meeting house. And that's the reason the road is called Friendly Lane, because of the Society of Friends. The Episcopal Church was, as you pointed out, the one at the other side where the parking lot is now. Both of those buildings are gone, but we've got lots of photographs of them when they were active.
Did you know that? See, you guys, Dad, you learned something.
You know, the wonderful part, even though I
This is what I
lived
look
here,
like at 58.
I came here in 1934, all I learned about the village was what somebody told me. And you go, and thank God for, he straightened a lot of this stuff that I was told, because it wasn't even true.
After it was sold when the Federated Church was created, and that was a consolidation of the Methodist Church, the Quakers, and the Society of Friends, and also the Reformed. It was the Methodist, the Reformed, and the Society of Friends. That's why it's called Federated.
Now, this is the old Quarter News when I got it. I bought it in 1947.
Look at the telephone booth on the porch.
Graduated, and I think,
Yeah.
who they did Christmas trees and asked me to sell Christmas trees. And that's my daughter
Yeah,
Diane.
that's like I said, here I am now. And then he takes me half naked. And that's Billy Sutherland.
Sutherland, yeah. Wow.
And I don't know, you know the guys on the porch there, Dad? I don't remember.
One's Larry Bartell,
All right.
he was always there.
This was absolutely, and when we got married in 1955, I could never remember, our bedroom was right above the house,
Yeah.
above that. And I'd hear them talking about the baseball game. And they should have taken that guy out of anything before. And this is part of the inside of the store. And this was a Seppi girl.
Mary
Mary Ann, she worked for me.
Oh, Joanne Seppi.
Where's my sister?
Yes, hey, hey.
Oh, there you go.
That's before the grades was taken down.
Just beautiful.
And the biggest thing I want to explain, I had the store for 54 years. And if there was anybody that ever gave me advice, was the man by the name of Richard Small. And I was selling magazines and also pocketbooks. And this one day I get my shipment in and I'm going through, and one of the books that I got was How to Become Wealthy. And he always came in every day and got a paper. And I said, oh, Mr. Small, I just got your book on to sell. And I said, geez, I gotta read that. He says, don't waste your time. He says, find a need and fill it. Find a need and fill it. And that was his advice I got from the start of that. And that telephone booth was one of the things, because people keep coming in the store and asking where they use a telephone. That don't happen today anymore. They're all gone. But anyway. That's my brother.
Nobody bought any pipes.
And last year of running the store, believe it or not, pipes, couldn't sell a pipe if I gave it away.
But look at all those cigarettes.
Cigars and no, candy. But very, very seldom you go in any store today, you don't see anything. Now that's Grace Briggs
Who, John?
Grace,
and
Grace Briggs.
Malali, Pat Malali's
Girl
wife.
is Dottie
Rice
Malali.
store.
Dottie Rice.
And a coffee
We
shop.
just coffee spot, we couldn't find any picture, that's the closest.
Oh, wow.
They were taking that sign down when they built the new grade union. It's over in.
I think that's. We had to do the churches.
And this goes back to the celebration of our 200th anniversary, and all the flags will put up on the village green as you come in.
Next picture was showing that's what.
And some trees there.
Tribute garden. It was built after the First World War.
Paid for war. Paid for war.
How to do that. I'm sure you have your kids there. I said I haven't been.
That's not there anymore.
I know that's what I said, I had to do the historical, this is it.
Oh, really?
They did away with
Yeah.
it.
Where's the God center?
That's where my 4 kids went. Back in the old days, Red Bridges were selling tractors, and when the first snowfall came,
That's no
they get in the
Sutherland.
tractors and they clear all the streets in Millbrook. This is when they were working on the.
It's like Jungle Gym.
That's on the front street.
The same.
That's a
I had to do that in memory of Eddie Majopoulos.
This is
Love that.
the new grade union. Then they had 2 new stores. The interesting thing, I always had somebody sitting on those steps.
A lot of business was done there.
How many were guilty of that?
The flower pots, which turned out to be about 15 of them. I happened to be going into the talked to Mrs. Strobel, who was the garden superintendent in Thorndale. And I went into one of the sheds where they had all the tools and whatnot. And I says, geez, what are you doing with all those flower pots? And he says to me, they were from the last garden show we had.
Yeah.
And I remember the garden show they had, I must have had 500 or 600 people there, and they had a concert. God, I was trying to think of the guy that was the main entertainer. Lived in the area. Well, anyway, I asked about those flower pots. Why can't we put them up and down the avenue? So he went and asked Mrs. Thorne if he could give them to the village. Oh, absolutely. Well, we brought them all up and they put them in my garage in the back. Joe Belletri, men came and they painted them all. Put them all back out on the street. Put the dirt in, and it was the Millbrook garden club that came and planted all the flowers just before Memorial Day. This is always the biggest crowd we ever get, every year. Local firemen's convention.
What year is this approximately, Dad? What did you figure out with the Grand Union being there? What year, what range did you think this was in Helen, you guys? Do you have an idea?
I told this maybe somebody knows about the cars.
Yeah, what kind of year?
That's the 56 Ford, that red and white.
And then the laundromat, figured.
Vincent, is that
We used to
Vincent?
have two drugstores here. We had one at the lower.
Because that was, Vincent was the upper drug. That's when they moved down, the dentist office all went up there.
And that Vincent's is now where that new drugstore moved in.
Neighborhood.
It's like a sidewalk sale. There we go.
This is Tom Foley Garage here. Church Street. One of the things that the only reason I put that in, Mrs. Thorne thought it was terrible. See, all the warriors are always up and it takes away from the village, and they should be buried. And I remember digging that whole thing up, all the way down and burying all those warriors. And what happened, when they dug it down, they went through my drain pipe in my cellar and the storage and plugged it. That was it. There was no runoff because they put that pipe in. So I had to get a sub pump.
He's doing in the men's shop, that's when the men's
Jimmy,
shop.
that's your vehicle?
It's Sandra Hudson.
Sandra Hudson, yeah.
See, we must have had at least 2 or 3 antique car shows. This is one of the cars that are coming in. And we have the cars all parked up at the Silver Warren.
Which now is Charlotte. I think those might be Tony and Joe.
Old pictures. That's
Yeah,
my
but that
kids.
is paper too.
I know that.
And after the season was over, they dragged all these Christmas trees, were all taken over to the, what we call the Y field. Over there.
Yeah.
And then they had the big fires. But today, all those fires, all those trees are picked up by the game cart, and they're used to put in their pheasant pens, so they can hide underneath the,
Are those
they have
sidewalks,
a use.
are those sidewalks stone or cement? The old ones?
And the sidewalk cement, huh? Well, there's.
Cement. I didn't want to ever step it on the way to the park.
This is always an interesting thing here. In the early years, the Seppies used to sell Christmas trees along the fence.
And to the right is where the Sutherlands used to live there?
This year,
That's right.
that Bill Powell mentioned, I gave him the 10 trees, and they had Christmas trees in it.
There it
There it is, yeah.
Anthony
is.
Bruce.
One of the reasons
That's the insurance.
the house
Yeah.
where
Which will
Mr.
show
Whalen
next.
now has his office. The nice people own.
Yes, the variance. Variance.
Did they rip it down?
Yeah, they took it.
Watch it.
Where's that sign say?
There goes.
Now, that wasn't taking too long, though. But really, it was infuriating, terrible. This is the way I look at it. And what's interesting, if you see that bare spot right up on next to the corner of the building, they have brought down the children's
Nursery school.
thing up, which was located on the golf course, right on the corner of the golf course. And they moved it all the way down to where it is today on
By the mine.
Bennett College.
Jerry Sargent told a cute story on that when they dug the foundation out for that building. There's a great big boulder right in the middle of it.
This one here?
Yeah. And he was saying, he says, I'm gonna blast it 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. He said, he went down 2 o'clock in the morning and blasted it. At 8 o'clock, the diner was full waiting for, when are you gonna blast? Boy, I did that 2 o'clock this morning. He just told that story the other morning at the diner.
Skip, is Sergeant okay? I haven't seen him in years.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
He's in the diner every morning with us.
He's the guy that every day.
Diner every morning. Charlie Marshall.
I don't know if anybody, this is Charlie Marshall. His wife owns the antique store.
David, I have a question, David. Do you have any information on when the house was
Skip,
built?
you know who they are?
Depending on the generation, Sutherland, but Wodell had it. There's a lot of information in the archive.
Yeah.
Oh, on the Sutherland house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he moved out?
What's interesting, that's Mr. Skidmore way on the end there. He used to write a column for the Millbrook Roundtable for years. And that's Bart Sargent there with a red cap on. The other one is Bob Flading, who was also, the next guy is Paul Hurley.
Is that George Jr.? The first one?
Kitty? Man, that's awful.
And it's not a good picture, but anyway, they had the Diamond Jubilee at Bennett College.
Backwards.
And they had the horses going down in the parade. And this is also part of the Jubilee.
And then it's Carmen's ice cream.
That is a Thorn Mansion. Believe it or not, they had an article in the one of the papers. And he left Scotland, from what the paper said, with 40 shorthorn cattle. and he came and bought a piece of property, this piece of property here, and kept adding on to it. Is that right?
It depends on which paper you read.
There's all different families, I understand.
Thorne owned
This is
property from
open.
Millbrook to Pine Plains.
Edwin's the one who went to Scotland and brought back the cattle.
But see, he had the cattle, the one Thorne here, who was the, because we were here for our picnic, our tea.
Yeah, just before Father's Day. It's very nice. This is
That's-
what
that's
you.
Believe me, when we lived here, I'm telling you, there was nothing that I didn't get big pleasure out of coming into this garden. If you look there, that's all yew bushes, and they'd all have to be trimmed every fall. It takes about almost 2 months to do it. And if you look right there on the left of the picture, you see like a swan.
Yep, yes.
My father used to make the frames, so they tied these yew bushes on there that they grow, and then they trim them each year, and it becomes like that a swan. What is so sad? And then in between where all those grow, they have white tulips. What a beautiful sight that is.
And now it's all just wrong.
But anyway, that's one of the beautiful things. Then we had another garden here with all the flowers. And that old tree, that's an old oak tree, every 2 years they'd have the tree people come in, put cables on there to save that tree to keep it growing. And one of the rumors, or whatever you want to call it, they kept telling me, that's the center of Dutchess County. And then I looked on the map, looked at it, it's pretty close, but the one in Cottonwood, in the cotton tree, they tell me.
That's what I've always heard.
They usually have swans in here, and that's just the bathing house. And I put that in because Oakley Thorne was the guy that brought in the Aberdeen Angus cows and bulls from Scotland. And back in the background, you see there, that's a horse stable. And they had, when we were living there, there was what, 15, maybe 20 horses they had. They had it groomed, everything. I just thought
There is a pretty picture.
I threw that in, my dad, and they're shelling corn. They don't do this anymore. The crazy thing is they got a machine now that shells the corn and stands in the field. That's my son Johnny.
Johnny.
Was that John?
Yeah.
But that's the interesting thing. Right now Dyson has been doing his corn, and I see him go by, and all the corn is already off the cobs.
No, Timmy Marshall's got the, off the top, like Dyson did the tops.
That makes it for a beautiful picture.
Okay, where is it, Dad? It's Holland. He threw that
Oh
in.
my
He
gosh,
said,
look at this, Bennett College, beauty contest.
You know any of those girls, I didn't know any.
Yeah.
Is that 4th of July thing?
You see any of them, That first girl was Rick's girl, I know that.
Yeah. Melanie Farrington now, right?
But just to let you know what that is, that was the start of 4th of July
4th of July.
celebration. Ernie's the fair, they raised quite a bit of money, and they took them, advertised the fife and drum course from the area. and there were 8 different groups that came to compete.
That's gone.
And this is down at the Bennett College ground in front of it. Now, you probably people are looking at that and said, what in God's name is that?
What is this about?
Well, the story is this came through Millbrook, you know, I went down the
And
corner.
they
I
spent
said,
2 days
"What
up
in
on
heaven's
Dice's
name?"
property.
So I took these pictures. Come to find out, after a while, they went up to Dyson's,
Yeah.
up on that side corner. They circled the wagon around, built fires, and they had their supper or whatever they could eat. And the next morning, they picked everything all up and they left on. And from when I talked to them, this caravan, they started in California. They came all the way across the United States. They came through Millbrook, New York, and then they go back. And the kids on there are troubled. And they put them on this thing here to hopefully straighten them up. And this is the old theater. Used to be a movie house. And
Pickles.
pickles.
Pickles, that's right, pickles.
Then John W. Lake bought it, and they made a feed store.
Kevin's Barber Shop.
His barber shop. And that's the picture of our house, that was Mr. Cunningham, he was our police officer. And when he was getting ready to retire, they bought that and they made a parking lot.
Really?
This is the village green. This is when they built the dance house, the Lions Club
Or
there.
87.
And I think that was the first concert we had there. And there's another one.
West Point Jazz Ensemble.
Oh, you remember it? Wow, you're
There.
good.
Yeah.
You want to see some more or not? I told the kid, I told my sister, that they, but I'll go one more.
What's there
Is there any people, that's Henry Safari, who's Safari Construction, and Dash Safari.
Larry Quinlan there by
Quinlan, Ham
Who's the
Fish.
blue? Who's that?
Hammy Fish is the third one.
That's right.
The rest of, some of these pictures now are just, it's either a fireman's parade or the
4th of
band
July.
concert or something like that.
But I tell you, truthfully, there hasn't been any activity in Millbrook since
Like
this
that.
stopped. Honestly. It was absolutely fantastic.
That was from Bennett.
This was another parade they had.
That's a competition.
This is the competition.
I just want to say too, my dad actually has an old 8 millimeter a couple years ago. I did get on a DVD, so we actually have the whole band thing on a DVD from a whole movie. Which was pretty amazing with that came through.
lot of these, when they competed, they'd been to 2 other competitions before that.
Yes.
Day.
Now, over on the table, you're gonna see that little spinner. And that's the Marine Corps band that we had here, that was brought in here by the VFW
Yep.
folks. And the way it got here,
Tommy
I
Hawk.
go for breakfast at the diner. And Mrs. Swindell happened to be there, who is the son-in-law of Roger Young. And he says, what goes on here on 4th of July? I said, really nothing. Well, why can't we get the Marine Corps Band or West Point or somebody who would do something? I'd be willing to put money into it. Well, fine, I brought it up. Well, by God, didn't take long to make the arrangements for next year's Marine Corps Band to come. So we had the Marine Corps Band here, and that's a bunch of pictures there, but I hope my daughter will put on this. So when there's so many old people. There's a picture of Chubby Ricker and Bobby Cole. I put it in there, and then
Joan Fantassel.
Joe Van Tassel, right? But she's still working at Vassar, right?
Yep, she's hoping to retire in December.
Yeah. No kidding. It's been how many years? 100 and something.
I think 60 years she's been
Right, that's what it is.
nurse.
now, over here on that picture, there's a picture of that. Front. That one was ripped down, and that became the parking lot for the village of Millbrook right in here.
Moore's Hat Shop.
Yeah.
And then the other
Some
building.
of the old cars.
Does anybody remember Gert Bartley?
Yep, the street. Up the street.
And once the fire company moved out of there, the village, that became the village hall. Well, the ambulance was in there for a while, and this was the dedication of the new firehouse. And who was it that donated that firehouse?
Archie Thorne.
Well, Mrs. Parsha, who was the daughter. I want to let you all know, I have so many of these pictures, and I show them quite often. I think Millbrook probably is the gifted community of anyone in the country with the Thorne family. They're number one that donates. Mr. Flagler, who did the monument and the Millbrook Library. And if you go around the whole town, most of all the buildings that are normally paid by taxes are donated by people. And I tell you, thank God for them people.
It wasn't until about 10 years ago that Millbrook ever bought their own fire truck.
That's right.
It's all donated by Thorne.
It's gonna be exciting to see what happens at Bennett College now. I'm excited to think that in my lifetime I'm gonna see that.
Why not?
I was very much involved in buying this one because we had a thermometer on the store.
Yeah.
It started with 0, and then the donations were people would bring in donations to get it. And by God,
higher
that
up.
just kept building up and building up. And I think the first one was a Cadillac, 1947, red one. And we used that, and then we traded it, and got another one. But anyway, now it's a service. But Skip can vouch for me. I can remember days when I would get the call, I would be the guy that get the call. Will you please tell the ambulance, my husband is so sick. My sister lived down around the corner, and that was when Bobby was born. And I said, Helen, what are you doing? I'm feeding Bobby. Can you come up and take care of the store? All right, so she comes racing up and then I go on the ambulance.
Thank God for you.
And then it has happened, where I'm coming back from a call, and we get another call to go, like, and I'm not back in the store for 4 hours, 5 hours. But anyway, nobody can take that away from me because it's an absolute gift. And then you have the family that come into the store to buy the paper, and they have their daughter or some friend come in. This is Mr. Kading. He took Daddy to the hospital, and he was so kind. That's the reward you get from doing it. This was at the, when we had the dedication. That's not a good picture. I think that's Tex Roy
I was
there
gonna
on
say,
the,
that looks like an, yeah.
Is that Andy Place at the front?
Andy Place, yeah. Right there in the front.
That's the dedication of the great year, maybe. Want another picture later.
now, do you recognize any of those?
Well, Ernie Severi is there.
First one's
Ernie
Tony
Severi.
Frenzel, who was the manager. The guy is, what's his? I'm counting.
Oh, Eddie Giacomo's back there.
It's John Murtaugh, Ernie Severi, and the butcher. Eddie Giacomo in the back there. You got some beautiful pictures of the horses. This is the first hunt.
Oh, goodness, yeah.
And what's interesting about it is, we got married in 1955. And Diane was born
June
later.
26th.
But anyway, the father-in-law and the mother-in-law came up, and he had just gotten a new camera, and he took these pictures, thank God. Well, I never had any of these.
He took that.
And this, believe it or not, there's 3 of the Donahus in there
That's in
somewhere.
Rabbitsville.
That's one of the reasons I took Ruthie and. This is the old brick hotel
Where the firehouse is now.
where the firehouse
Yes,
is.
oh, I haven't seen it.
Interesting story I want to tell about this. Back when the railroad was going
And
through,
so do I.
the railroad would bring a lot of the New York people out, and they'd stay overnight or the weekend at the hotel. One gentleman came in, and they looked at him, and he had a bottle of whiskey. The owner said, "Wait a minute, where are you going with that?" "It's mine, it's my whiskey." "Well, if you're gonna have whiskey, you gotta buy it here, you can't bring it in." We said, "Oh, yeah? Well, I'll show you, I'm gonna build my own hotel." That's how Bennett College got built. Believe it, that's the story. And then the railroad stopped going and the whole thing just fell apart, and Miss Carroll came along and made it Bennett College. But I heard, and the one who told me that story was Dickie Whalen. That was what he told me. Now, this is up at, right on Route 44. It's a horse show. And every horse show they had anywhere in the town, our ambulance had a standby.
Wow. That does look like a.
That makes some beautiful pictures. And this was, believe it or not, I put that in later, but this is on top of Sharpstein Hill, up on Dyson's. And that's where Dyson started his big trip.
Yes, that's where it is.
Millbrook had
Ice coffee.
ice carving.
Oh, that's, yeah, that's Tommy Road. Tom Rose, yeah, that's,
Yeah, it's Tom Rose.
yeah. He owns Levinson.
That's very reasonable. And every year we have a yard, sale, sidewalk.
Sidewalks. Community Day.
Oh, my goodness.
Who that? Who that? Yep. Well, the reason I put it in there, being our president, I still did, but over against the building there, they had hot chocolate.
That's not good.
Snacks.
Like a
Oh,
girl.
my goodness.
The old nursery right up in the corner. Well, it was interesting. Mrs. Magnorella lived right next door to us up in Abbotsford. And she was the kindergarten teacher. So, and I was having lambs at the time. And says, do you think you can bring the lamb up to the kindergarten? They probably get a charge. Sure enough, I put that little, I had a little poodle. And we took the poodle
Poodle outfit. Put on the
outfit,
lamb.
put it on the
Where's that?
Yeah.
Where is it?
Where is it at? Where did you guys?
That's down from where I live.
Yeah, down from the post office. Also the church, right? Is that what you're trying to, in that area?
Mr. Green,
Yeah. I don't recognize that one.
it used to be the boarding house across from the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
I remember it. I remember.
There was a name for that.
It's the only house that didn't have, village water in it.
Some kind of garden there was, I forgot what it's called.
I love that picture.
What is it? Is it a fire, rain, or?
Now,
Fireworks going on.
anybody think,
Oh,
any idea what that is?
yeah, the fireworks.
Shut this down.
Is that
Well, I'll tell you what it is. Every year we had fireworks. Ernie Safari was always in charge of the fireworks for the community. Well, now we have it all up at the golf course and there. But this year, they were gonna have the fireworks on the Thorne property,
On
right
the hill
along
there.
44.
Opposite the annex.
So they bring on the fireworks, trucks come in, he puts a big canvas down and puts all the fireworks on this canvas. Well, they shoot up one, boom, it goes off, and all the sparks come down. Right in the middle of that thing. All the fireworks that he had on that canvas all went off on one side.
4 or 5 guys got injured.
I got one picture, that's it.
Some grand finale.
That was the last of the fireworks.
But that's and that way in the back is Millbrook School.
I love that.
This is Carmine, this was always the collecting point. This is back in 1955.
Third weekend in August, 1955.
Okay, and is that Hurricane Diane,
Flooded,
correct?
yeah.
1950, that's how I was thinking that.
And this one has the dedication of Stuart. And all I can say is thank God for Stuart.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Can anybody remember this?
Next to Roman, Roman is here, the old post
This
office.
used to be the post office. The post office moved into a new building, and they took over. And we're gonna put the corner news on it. Charlotte?
I don't think they were there that long. What, the discount store now? I don't remember. Oh, for five times.
Must have been Halloween when you had the young,
John, who were in the picture of the cyber
That is Al Stacy, and I don't know who the kid was.
There's another picture.
Is Miss Schwarzschild in there, Susan?
No, she's not.
Over town.
Got it. Right.
Made chilies.
Civic stuff.
That looks like David Whalen. It does, yeah.
Millbrook Diner. That was just redone last year by the Rotary Club.
Oh, yeah, he had to come take a picture because the Rotary Club just paid to get all that fixed up.
And that's the end of the show.